Oh, well, hi there. I hope you had a Merry Christmas and got a heap of shit to clutter your house and got a little bit fatter, etc., etc. So I'm a little late to the party on this one, but it's too juicy not to talk about. Remember the CHAZ, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone set up by Antifa and Black Lives Matter in Seattle a few months ago? Well, it happened again. This time it was 3 blocks in Portland that they called the Red House Autonomous Zone. And it was all centered around, well, a red house. A shithole red house, whose occupants were recently evicted. But they weren't just any occupants, you see. They were occupants of colour. Now, I know some of you are going to be like, but Bearing, colour doesn't have a U in it. But here in the colonies it fucking does, so fuck you, fuck off, you're wrong and I'm right. So anyway, it all comes down to systemic racism, gentrification, capitalist tyranny, colonial oppression, just whatever fucking buzzword you want to throw in there. So in March, Antifa to stick up for these poor oppressed individuals of colour, and as they're chasing the cops out of the area, they set up blockades and booby traps to prevent them from getting back in, simultaneously claiming the Red House Autonomous Zone. Apparently there were up to 500 people camped outside the house on one night. Now, I was going to go through a heap of news articles and shit to talk about this, but as I was putting them together the other week as all this went down, the Young Turks released a video on the matter. And Young Turks videos are usually a great jumping off point for these types of things, because they're usually hilarious, and they're usually wrong. So here's the Young Turks talking about the Red House Autonomous Zone, right after this sponsor. In 2000 and current year, it's really important to keep your body healthy all the time. Collagen may be the closest thing we'll ever get to the so-called fountain of youth, while also forming a wall of defense between your immune system and the rest of your body. A lot of health experts now agree that consuming collagen is crucial when it comes to renewing and revitalizing how you look and feel. The older you are, the more likely it's caught your attention, and for good reason. After all, collagen is the most abundant protein in your body and is essentially the glue that holds you together. In fact, after age 20, people produce about 12% less collagen in their skin each decade, and for some, it's an even greater decline. This means by the time you're middle-aged, you could be producing less than half of the collagen you did in your youth. Even worse, various lifestyle factors you may have been exposed to, like poor diet, smoking, pollution, stress, and excess sun exposure, can deplete your collagen levels even faster. So visit my page at healthwithbear.com and secure your supply of the only collagen on the market I trust. Link in the description.
So there's a story out of Portland. Cops in Portland clashed with protesters who were attempting to blockade a home where a Black and Indigenous family was recently evicted.
Whoa, wait. Did she just say Black and Indigenous? You mean they're of 2 colours? They're people of 2 colours? Well, this is definitely oppression.
So the home was then auctioned off to a real estate developer. It currently sits empty. And so the protesters had been occupying that home in an effort to make a point, a very valid point, about how this system is incredibly broken.
You know what? I bet she's about to make a very good point about how the system's incredibly broken. And you notice how she said the home was then auctioned off? Like as in after the Antifas came in, after the family of multiple colours were evicted? When exactly was the home auctioned off, Anna? And why was the home auctioned off, Anna?
And it leads to people essentially being evicted from their homes as a result of, not having the funds to, defend family members from ridiculous allegations in court. So
people being evicted from their homes as a result of not having the funds to, defend family members from ridiculous allegations in court. Anna, the people who owned this property took out a mortgage in the year 2000 in order to fund the legal defense of one of their family members who was involved in a hit and run. Hit and runs are illegal. They're bad, okay? What made the allegations against this guy ridiculous? Is it because they're of 2 colours?
The protest basically got crazy once police got involved because they wanted to board up the home. They blocked the streets and they tried to get these protesters out of that area.
Yeah, listen, I'm not fucking finished here. You do know that they don't have to mortgage out their house in order to defend their fuckwit relatives against hit and run allegations, right? I mean, you can if you want to, it's your property. But if you do choose to take a mortgage out on your property, then you have to pay that mortgage off. If you don't, then it will be foreclosed on and sold to someone else. I mean, I feel like I shouldn't have to be explaining this. Fuck.
The owner of the property, which is a real estate developer, where the eviction took place, issued a complaint that people were trespassing.
Yeah, if you own a property and somebody who is not you or authorized by you or renting off you or contracted by you is occupying the property, that's called trespassing. Anna.
Officers showed up at the location before dawn, arresting 7 people. Violence broke out between police and protesters in broad daylight near the home, with demonstrators hurling rocks at officers, spraying fire extinguishers, and damaging police cars. Now, the protesters were trying to reclaim this foreclosed home, and the story is so sad, and I know that there are so many Americans out there who have stories just like this.
Yeah, a lot of people lose their homes because they can't meet their mortgage, and that's really, really sad. But not many people get fucking Antifa to occupy their homes and then fuck with the cops when they're just trying to do their jobs.
So to give you a little bit of context, and then I want to hear your thoughts, John. The Hill reports that the house had belonged to the Kinney family since the 1950s. The Kinney family had actually paid off the home, but then they ended up taking out a new mortgage to pay defense lawyers after a family member was arrested in 2000.
Yeah, so that's that hit and run we heard about earlier. Now, these people took out a mortgage on their house to help pay for the legal defense, and that's fine, that's their business. But if you're going to take out a mortgage, you kind of have to make the payments.
So that's when things really started to go downhill. The house went into foreclosure, they fell on hard times, and was sold to a developer at a 2018 auction. Activists said their presence at the site is an effort to reclaim the property for the family and save it from foreclosure.
Save it from foreclosure? It's already been foreclosed. That happened way back in 2018, then someone else purchased the property. So they've basically been squatting there ever since. They're squatters, Anna.
And I wanted to get your thoughts, and then I'll show you how easily the protesters did away with the fences that the cops erected here.
Okay, well, that sounds pretty good, so I'll keep it short. But yeah,
I can't fucking stand this guy.
I almost feel like one of the big failures of the media and maybe progressives over the past year is not successfully getting through to people about how much chaos there's going to be as a wake of the newest wave of evictions. This is obviously a great reminder that this is not new. I mean, we've covered on TYT for literally years some of conflicts like this. It's an added layer of, I don't know, irony or what, that like the house had to have the new mortgage as a result of these same sorts of issues, that it almost seems like too perfect.
What the fuck are you talking about? What same sorts of issues? Some cunt did a hit and run 20 years ago and their family took out a mortgage on their home to pay for his legal defense. They didn't have to take out the mortgage. He didn't have to do the hit and run. What are you saying, that it's some sort of injustice that you've got to come up with a legal defense when you commit a fucking crime?
But we are still facing, I mean, countless hundreds of thousands or millions of evictions that could be coming up in the near future. And it's not even that, like with coronavirus or like with unemployment, the current solutions being debated are inadequate. They're not being debated. It's not a part of the conversation. And this is a case study of one instance of a neighborhood fighting back, but we're going to be flooded by this.
This is just drivel. This doesn't have anything to do with coronavirus. The cops came to get some squatters out of a property. Simple. But a bunch of communists in tight black jeans started a riot because the squatters happened to be of color.
You think the banks care about, you think the banks want policies that prevent these evictions? And I apologize, John, I interrupted you and I hate when that happens to me.
He needed to be interrupted. He was talking out of his ass. And yes, the banks care about doing business, and they're in the business of lending money. They'd prefer not to foreclose on bad mortgages. They'd much rather see the mortgage out as agreed.
This is just a topic that drives me crazy, because remember, don't let a good crisis go to waste. This turns into opportunities.
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
For these real estate developers, they love this.
Oh, not the big bad real estate developers. Anna is such a disingenuous schmuck. So it turns out the real estate developer who owns the property is a 32-year-old bloke with a wife and kids. He paid 260 grand for the house at auction in 2018, and he obviously hasn't had any kind of return or use of the property since then. Now, out of concern for his family's safety, he's offered to sell the house back to the Kinney family at cost. He just wants his 260 grand back, and he'll eat all the legal fees and taxes it's cost him. That's a pretty generous deal. And not only that, there's a GoFundMe set up for the Kinney family to buy the property back. It's currently at $315,000. That's the house back free and clear of any debt and a $55,000 bonus on top. All for not paying their fucking mortgage. Not bad. Anyway, I'm out of here. I can't stand these motherfuckers. Thanks for watching and I'll see you again soon.
Recession.